Welcome back. I let you just sit down. Just few words to let the last ones to get settled. There's gonna be the Enjminal next June. It will be the 14th of June, so please put that in your calendar. There's gonna be official announcement for that coming soon, but you have the primeur, je sais pas si ça se dit, la primeur de la date, le 14 juin, the 14th of June for next Enjminal. So everybody's ready. So let's dive into the 3 next teams and games of the day, and let's start with Ar Mare. Please, a warm welcome to the team.
The walls are shifting. I see it from the corner of my eyes, like a bad dream. A reaching hand that shows me where I need to go. Like the house itself knows where I need to go. Then I blink, and the hand is gone.
We regret to report the death of a keeper's couple in the Ar Mare lighthouse.
Got to keep moving.
The terrible news exacerbated yet again the reputation of Ar Mare.
What?
Known by all keepers for being the hell of all hells, it is easy to imagine that the place itself does not want to be inhabited.
Hi everyone, let us dive into the world of Ar Mare. Ar Mare is a narrative walking sim with horror element, playable on PC in solo mode, with a time of completion of around 3 hours. You play in first person with a playable character that can walk, run and interact with different objects. And you could do all of that with a keyboard and a mouse, or with a controller. You step into the shoes of our protagonist, Morgan, in the mysterious world of the most haunted lighthouse in Brittany, Ar Mare. Isolated from the rest of the world, you will explore a solitude and introspective story between Morgan and the lighthouse, immersed in the Breton sea culture of offshore lighthouses, with a beautiful story about female hardships. So, you can consider it as Amnesia's Dark Descent, but with less mechanics, no monsters, and woman-led.
The game is therefore aimed at story-driven players who love immersive stories, deep fleshed-out characters, and atmospheric and slow-burn enthusiasts drawn to isolated and austere settings that are set in constant tension, as well as history lovers who enjoy to discover worlds for their narrative richness, and mystery seekers who like the unknown where fear can come from anywhere. Now, let us lay the context of the game.
Ar Mare is a game rooted in history and culture. The story takes place in Brittany in the year 1920, 2 years after the Great War. And it takes inspiration from the many female lightkeepers of that era that history has forgotten, like Anna de Clément here. To weave the story of Ar Mare, we had to borrow inspiration from more places and real-life tales and delve into superstitions. Ar Mare is a tale of fairies and monsters. Morgane Lafay and her story of emancipation is at the core of our storytelling. Likewise, we want to talk of entrapment, of loneliness, and of severe life conditions, like from the real-life ghost and horror stories of the Ar Mare lighthouse in Brittany. But now that you know all of this, let's delve into the characters of Ar Mare. Our first main character is Morgane Lafay. She is a 40-year-old ex-fisherwoman turned lighthouse keeper, and the only playable character. Morgane's personality is fixed and distinct from the players. She evolves throughout the game as she gains responsibility and empathy. The keys to her personality are not explicitly revealed, but by playing, you will find out more about Morgane through her chatters, her diary pages, and the tasks she has to do in the Ar Mare Isle. Her years of fishing made her rational and pragmatic, but she's also closed off and a workaholic. She values her freedom of being enough choice, and of course, because she's flawed, she secretly feels very alone although she would never admit it. The second main character of Ar Mare is a fictional lighthouse itself. Known in the game by all keepers for being the hell of all hells, it is more than just a lighthouse. It is a monster with its own wants and needs. Like for Morgan, its character is fixed and worsens over time. It acts as a dark mirror of Morgan. But the lighthouse is not as it seems. A dark witch haunts it. Centuries ago, when a witch was killed by men for them to build a lighthouse there, she cursed them, swearing to take down any man who dared disturb her peace. The witch is irrational and erratic, impulsive and love-bombing. She's also a manifestation of Morgan's secret desires. Like Morgan, she craves connection and someone like her. But unlike her, she reacts with violence when she doesn't get what she wants. Here is a timeline of our full game. The exposition introduces the player to Morgan as she starts to work at the Ar Mare lighthouse in order to escape 1920 society. Then, her routine is brutally broken by the inciting incident when her light-keeping partner Patrick goes missing. The rising action phase follows Morgan as she investigates Patrick's disappearance, while slowly unveiling the mystery behind the lighthouse and its true identity as a witch. During the climax comes the moment when Morgan, having fully understood the witch's homicidal crimes, refuses to remain as a passive participant. But this leads us to our game's resolution. Morgan burns the lighthouse down. Our proof of concept, what we've been working on for 4 months now, it takes place at the beginning of the rising action phase, after the inciting incident. Things start to get weird. A narrative cliffhanger at the end of the proof of concept will ensure we leave the player wanting for more. We thought the post-rising action segment of the game would be perfect for a proof of concept. Indeed, this meant we had time to develop an onboarding segment, with Morgan still doing a lightkeeper routine, a progressively climbing tension, as the stakes are not yet very high, and narrow, claustrophobic locations. But now, to delve further into what is in our proof of concept.
So the game is about 10 days long, but the proof of concept only covers 2 of those days, with specific events and the progression throughout. We chose this structure because it was fit to fulfill our intentions for the demo, as we wanted to create a proof of concept that would present our ambience and our atmosphere rather than the gameplay demo. So over the course of these days, you will follow Morgan's daily routine as a lighthouse keeper, identify with her life, her work, her personality, witness strange events, understand what is going on in the lighthouse, and dive into the story of the former keepers. So the first day acts as an introduction of the game and the beginning of the rise of the tension. Inside the house, the fuses blow when Morgan discovers elements about the past lighthouse keepers, and especially her partner Patrick, who has gone missing lately. She is trapped into a room and then guided to a mysterious attic, and this marks the start of the horror events around her, with doors disappearing and duplicating themselves, mysterious noises and subtle changes occurring around her. In the second day, Morgan is locked inside the lighthouse and needs to solve a mysterious puzzle inside a music box to escape. She notices that the environment evolves around her organically. The radio triggers on its own, the doors open and close, and the paintings change behind her back. This is when she decides to leave the island, and this decision angers the lighthouse, who wants her to stay. At this point, the lighthouse makes its voice more present and becomes more aggressive towards her. As she climbs one last time to the top, she discovers that the island is gone and she is now all alone in the middle of the ocean. So Ar Mare is a walking sim with mandatory puzzles. It's very narrative and exploration driven, which means that you cannot get a game over screen, you don't die, you don't fight enemies, and you cannot lose. We really want to focus on going through the space and digging through the story. The gameplay loop always starts with exploration. So as Ar Mare is a very slow game, you get a lot of time to snoop around and enjoy all the small interactions in the environments. This leads to a new objective that is made visible with the task list on the top left corner of the screen. To complete this objective, you either have to complete a small interaction or a more complicated puzzle that requires more reflection, such as this music box, for example. Completing your task will lead to pieces of narration, such as objects that you will find like dolls, notes, or books, or more subtle changes around you with the horror events that you trigger. And this loop repeats itself several times during the games. So the key feature of Ar Mare is the labyrinth aspect of the space. We want the lighthouse to feel like a living entity, with its room always rearranging themselves to force Morgan to stay and also to guide her to what the lighthouse wants her to see. This means that we want to force the player to relearn the disposition of the space regularly and also give a sense of disorientation and uncanniness when they realize that the rules that govern the space are changing. And now you will be able to witness for yourself this changing environment through an extract of the gameplay demo. You will play the first day of the game when Morgan finds a mysterious key in the crab traps.
What are you doing here? I have to get back down now. I don't want to stay here any more than I have to.
A big part of making Ar Mare is working around the horror events as well as the tasks in order for everyone in the team to be able to prototype as early as possible and to make tweaks. We made a tool that links a Google Sheet to Unreal Engine. So in this Google Sheet, we're going to be able to set up triggers and receivers. In order to do so, first, we put the name of the event as well as a description so that anyone who's seeing this in the Google Sheet can know what is happening at that moment. Then, we're going to set up the triggers. The triggers are going to be the elements in the game that the player is going to have to interact with one way or another in order to make something happen. Then, we're going to have the modifiers as well as the receivers. The modifiers are data such as how many triggers is the player supposed to trigger, or in what order, and such utilities. And the receivers are the objects that are going to receive the triggers and then make the event happen. So here, for example, we have objects in the house that are going to turn around and look at Morgan when she enters the house. They do not do that by default. Morgan is going to first have to go outside of the house, then to go towards the crab trap to get her food for the evening.
and then to interact with the crab trap. After doing these 3 interactions, the objects in the house are going to look at her next time she enters her home.
To allow players an easy onboarding and seamless experience while exploring the lighthouse, a white outline is added to close-by interactive elements with a pop-up explaining how to interact with them. And for all readable elements, we also adapted a transcript, making prose and cursive easier to read for everyone.
As we said, the action takes place on a small island offshore. Our objective, as we built our artistic direction, was to convey a strong feeling of loneliness. We also wanted to convey the strangeness of the island as the hunting of the witch follow us along the game. We put effort in environments and ambiances because immersion is a key element in walking sims and narrative games.
Now, let's get a little deeper into this haunted island. Morgan is trapped between 2 worlds, reality and nightmare. She's stuck on an isolated island with an hard-conditioned job, and yet have to face the curse of a witch. To enhance the surrealism and odd condition of living, we chose a semi-realistic approach. The texture of a strong brushstrokes and convey a hand-painted feels as a way to blur the barrier between reality and nightmares. The lighting is also a big part of our artistic direction, with defined and non-realistic color ambiances. The first day is calmer and mainly in greenish tint, and will slowly become a deep red as the horror escalates and the curse of the witch became more present on the second day.
As we said, lights are of course a big part of our atmosphere. We choose to approach the first day with dull color, with very washed greens and blinking lights. In the house, the wood is eaten away by the sea, and the walls carry the past of all the ex-lighthouse keepers' stories. But yet, it feels like an intimate place, full of day things of life. Morgan's way to the lighthouse is not easy. She has to face rain, wind, fog, and of course the lighthouse that always watches her. We framed all the path with the sharp rocks to restrain visibility and enhance the uneasy feeling. Some lights are here to help the player to navigate and add contrast with the night. And finally, Morgan arrives at the lighthouse. It's a place of work, but also where the nightmares came from. As for the house, the walls are dirty and the light is dull, but this time with a more oppressive ambience and darker shadows. As it is the second character of the game, we wanted it to feel almost organic in its sounds. As you go up, the atmosphere will become stranger and stranger, as if you go deeper into the curse.
So enough talking now, we will show you a gameplay demo starting is a day 2 of proof of concept. The horror events are really starting to intensify, and Morgan's current objective is to clean the rotation mechanism.
Reality is not like it is in the manuals.
To report the death of a keeper's couple in the Ar Mare lighthouse. During a night of violent storms, the husband drowned in the attic where his wife Louise liked to stock her paintings. She found him days later in a state of...
Shut it. All right. I got more to do around the house.
Of a keeper's couple in the Ar Mare lighthouse. During a night of violent storms, the husband drowned in the attic where his wife Louise liked to soak her paintings. She found him days later in a state of greater decomposition. It is reported that after her gruesome find, Louise went to the lighthouse, went to the gallery, then leaped out and broke all of her bones on the cliff drop below. But this is not the start of the deaths in Ar Mare. Another family was killed there the previous year. The mother, Françoise, found herself locked out of the lighthouse, powerless to rescue her daughter who was trapped inside. Rolled up into a hidden extension in the lighthouse's ground floor, the little girl later died of unknown causes. All that is left of her is a grave.
A poem. But why? Let's get it over with. Out of here. I have to leave. I'm leaving this rock. By swimming or by drowning, I'm leaving tomorrow. I want to stay here more than I have to. Now, to stay here. I'm trying. I want to stay here more than I have to. This is a week.
The place itself just wants to be inhabited.
I want to stay here more than I have to. Now, to stay here. I want to stay here more than I have to. This is a week.
Now, let's come back slowly with what's beyond the game. As shown in our positioning diagram, our main competitors are a mix of psychological horror and strong narrative games that perfectly capture the slow pace and the feeling of being watched in an enclosed space, like our main competitor, The Suicide of Rachel Foster. This duality is central to our game, establishing a significant presence within this genre. We have worked now on a proof of concept with 2 days, 2 puzzles and 3 tasks each day to test our environment and immersion through narration. What we want to do after the internship time is to actively work on the alpha phase, which consists of developing all the stable assets we will have in the game. As we said, the entire game is based on 10 days, so we will allow time in the beta phase to work on 3 to 4 days for a period of 2 months each, with specific assets, as our environment is based on maze-like space and involving narration. So we have a total production size of 19 months, and we have 14 remain. For the team, we have now a team of 10 students, and we want to provide a production with 8 persons, with a freelancer for the marketing all around the production, and voice actress, as we did. So we want to release the game for the October in 2026 for the period of Halloween. Now for the economic model. Our game will be at the price of €15 in premium model according to our target researches. We actually have English and French for subtitles, and we wish to expand more on the European territory, incorporating 10+ languages like Spanish, Italian, Polish, or even Portuguese. Our calculation allows us to estimate the number of sales we need to reach our break-even. So, for the production of around 200,000 to 3 of the production, we know that we will be able to reach our break-even for 23,567 copies. So let's see the team who's working on Ar Mare, starting with Maureen as a level designer, Emma Louise as a narrative designer, Hugo for the sound design, Albin as a concept UI artist, Victorien and Gabriel as a 3D artist, Mario and Jules as a programmer, Simon as a UI and UX UI designer, and me as a producer. We would like to thank Fred and Gail for the voice recording, as well as Loris for the C shader. You can find our game on itch.io and the Lighthouse, and thanking you for your attention.
Thank you. So who wants to start with the questions or remarks? Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Mishka from Argentina again. So I have a few questions. One I kind of got answered by the quick gameplay video we had. So can you have more than a quest line at a time? Because you had in the video you had more than one quest, but you had like they were one after the other, right? Just a quest line. And then do you have some kind of side quest to know more, or every part of the content is like mandatory? And then, or are all puzzles linear, or do they have multiple possible solutions?
For now, for the proof of concept, we were going for a very linear approach. So for now, all the quests, the tasks, sorry, are mandatory, and you can only do them in the right order, in the order we showed. There's no side quests or side tasks for now, but it's something we're thinking about for the full game, because we don't want the game to feel too predictable. If you want to complete that, no, it's fine. But it's something we're thinking about for the full game. For now, we wanted to try out with a more linear approach, so we could have full control on the story and the path of the player. And the path is? The path is, I mean
the puzzles, the mini games. Do they have several answers or only one answer?
No, it's only one. Only one answer per mini game.
And this will be also for the final game, like
yes.
Just linear answers.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, Antoine from Ninja Theory. thanks for the presentation. It's great to see the game like progressing this much, like since the last presentation where we see everything together, like playable. Can't wait to play it on the plateau. A question I have is about UI and what drove you to implement a quest UI, like something that like a task list for the player?
We needed to know where the player was going to be in order to trigger the horror events in the right time. So it was a simple way to make sure that the player was going to follow the golden path. Even if, of course, you can go around and take your time and explore, you have to be at certain locations at certain points to trigger the horror events because you go through the trigger boxes, etc. So we tried without the task list, but we realized that it was there wasn't enough information for the player to know where they needed to go next. So this is why we decided to add it.
Did you even explore some more diegetic UI instead of just, because I think you mentioned like wanting something to be very immersive, and like I know it's also a big thing that like it's a big problem like coming from Ninja Theory where we don't want any UI, but it is a pain in the ass to keep a game with no UI. But have you tried to explore like alternative rather than using traditional UI elements?
For the full game, we intended to integrate a journal, which allows Morgan to directly see in a diegetic way our tasks for the day. But for now, we went for a more discrete approach in order to keep the player in the immersion.
Thank you.
Thanks. Who wants to? Yeah.
Hi, Leili from Arte. Congratulations for the work you have provided. It's really good and amazing to see how much you came from. And I was kind of scared with the gameplay video, so good job. My one question is quite simple, is that I know with first-person point of views games, especially in environments such as Ar Mare's ones, you can get kind of nauseous, especially like in the stairs. I had to look away a little bit personally. So I was wondering if you had any feedback, maybe if you did some playtest, or if you have any thoughts on how to fix or maybe minimize that feeling.
Yeah, we thought about that. It's not the first time that, unfortunately, we've had this feedback. Two things that we've added was the, I don't know how you say reticule in English, but the dot in the middle of the screen, the crosshair. And also the collider of the stairs that were very bumpy. We made it a bit smoother in order to avoid this. The game is also playable with mouse and controller, and the controller version is a lot smoother. So these were the options that we explored.
Hey, Remy from Pancake Dacia. Really well done. Congratulations on this project. I am wondering, how long is the vertical slice / proof of concept?
Vertical slice is around 15 minutes, I think. If you play the game blind, we did a speed run yesterday. It was 2 minutes. For now, it's around between 10 and 15 minutes, I'd say.
Okay, and so how long would you like the complete game to be?
Repeat, I'm sorry.
How long would you like the complete game to be?
Oh, the complete is 3 hours, yes.
Okay,
yeah.
sorry. Okay, so that means 2 years of development for 3 hours. I don't even know what to say. Do you think of replayability or stuff like that, or not really?
I think, I'm speaking for everyone, but I think our game is very linear and story-driven. And the inspirations we took were from games of the similar, like you said, Leah, like narrative-driven games playable in one sitting. So I don't think we wanted replayability. We did want, the game is very mystery-driven too. So if you know the mystery at the end, well, the game is spoiled for you, but it's also really rewarding for a first-time playthrough. That's why we reached for you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Isabel from Ubisoft. I really like the game. Like, I got chills watching the video. Very good. Two very, very minimal comments. One, following the stairs thing, I do agree with that. I think at that point there was one thing that also removed me from immersion a bit, which is the sound of the footsteps did not match, like, at all. Anything that was going on. So, like, visually what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing is completely different. I think within the house itself, sometimes she was walking very slowly and the sound of the footsteps was the same. Outside, it sounded perfect. Like, it had a different sound, it was sounding fast and stuff like that, but inside the house, I think the footsteps did not really match. I really like the visual when it goes really red. The beginning, the first day, it did bug me a little bit because the house is supposed to be, like, I know you guys are going for a more artistic style, but the house was very cluttered. There's a lot of things everywhere, but everything is very clean to me. There's not a lot of things that have like a more dirty texture. So it looked weird to have like a bunch of clean plates piled on top of each other. But that's it. That's the only thing that I would, like, very minor things. So very good job.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you. Another question? Yeah.
Hello, I'm Mathieu from Tactical Adventures. Thank you for this most excellent demo and presentation. Congrats. A few remarks on the texture of the walls. I know you want to have this hand-painted feeling, but somehow it felt like blurry or low-res textures like PlayStation 1 version. So maybe you can add a bit of detail or new material. I don't know, but I don't remember how they did it in Dredge actually, but maybe there's some lesson to learn here. That's point one. Also, maybe some visual effects were missing. Maybe some mist from time to time. Maybe some rain when you go outside to give a more dramatic atmosphere, like it's an endeavor to go outside of the lighthouse. And sorry, it's a 3 question. And finally, I think the price is a bit too aggressive for 3 hours of gameplay. Even though I understand perfectly that you want to tell the story in 3 hours, it's fine, it's valid. But 15, maybe too much. Thank you.
Some more remarks, questions? Okay, so if there's no other reactions, so let's congratulate the team once again. And let's welcome next team, which is Viscera.
Okay, little trigger warning before we start the trailer. We're going to have some flashing images towards the end of the trailer, so little photosensitivity warning. Welcome to Viscera. Leave your old self behind and shape your future in this trial. Guided by Beoth, a legendary weapon who judges your path, every trial and choice reveals who you are and how you'll wield this power. Viscera is a fast-paced, first-person hack and slash where both your skills and your choices are put to the test. It is a solo experience. It is also an exploration of meaningful choices, where every decision, whether violent or peaceful, shapes the experience and reflects that player's identity. In Viscera, the player fulfills objectives in order to clear waves of enemies. The way they choose to clear those waves impacts the world, notably changing the level's environment and the behavior of the game's enemies, the dwellers. Those changes reflect the identity of the player, and they are assigned personas based on that. The game is built around three main pillars. Those are the existence and relevance of a non-lethal way to progress through the game, putting the players through meaningful dilemmas, forcing them to make quick choices, and giving the players a persona based on those choices, allowing them to self-evaluate. So for our first pillar, we wanted the game to have a non-lethal way of progressing, going against the conventions of the genre. For it to be relevant, our non-lethal option should be as skill-based and as juicy as the lethal one, making sure the player's ability to choose their style isn't hindered by an unbalanced alternative. Yet, we also wanted it to be sufficiently different, mechanically and thematically, for the choice to be meaningful. For our second pillar, we wanted to challenge the player's choices and habits, putting them through situational dilemmas and forcing them to make choices on the spot. By favoring different playstyles one after the other, we test players' values and preferences. Are they committed to one, or do they go with what's optimal? Are they good at both, or hyper-specialized? By testing players this way, we can gather valuable data on how they play. And for our third and final pillar, we wanted to put the players in front of their behavior, giving them a chance to self-evaluate, and perhaps even reflect on their actions and choices. This mainly takes the form of different personas, displayed at the end of each arena, that describe and characterize the way players have answered the arena's challenges. Along with datasheet-like reports on the most relevant stats, this gives players a moment to judge that assessment according to their own standards, be they based on performance, expression, or morals.
So our target audience is going to have expectations regarding the game being a FPS hack and slash. So taking this into account, we have determined that players might be looking for a good challenge with an engaging combat system, but also intense and exciting gameplay, meaning a fast-paced experience with complex combat mechanics, and an immersive and visceral experience coming from audiovisual aesthetics and the juicy game feel. We also have identified three main pain points they might be confronted to. First, sensory distractions could lead to visual and cognitive overload, which we want to avoid as much as possible. We also have to be wary about motion sickness in first person. Then, hindrances and repetitiveness, meaning that players do not want to be slowed down or stopped in a fast FPS game, and boredom should be avoided. And unfair difficulty, meaning that bad balancing, unclear combat mechanics, not feeling in control of their actions, and difficulty spikes could be a source of intense frustration for our players. Our target audience ranges from mid to hardcore, and this comes from the fact that aiming and moving quickly in a complex 3D space will be core to the experience.
Now, let us take a look at the gameplay. The goal of the player is to progress through the level with their current objective displayed on the top right of the screen. Each level is split into several waves. The first one here is a survival wave. The player has several movement tools to avoid incoming attacks from the dwellers. First, they can jump above the enemies to avoid being surrounded. They can also dash to get out of the way of the attacks and projectiles. And finally, they can get back on the ground quickly with what we call a ground slam to regain their footing. And of course, they can make a creative use of these options by blending them together. In this next wave, the goal is to reach the checkpoint at the end of this course. We could make use of the movement features we've seen so far, but let's try something else: possession. By possessing a dweller, you essentially become this dweller, and this allows you to move quickly through the levels. Next up is the final wave of the level. The player has to clear a certain amount of dwellers. So now is a good time to introduce you to the violent mechanics. The player can slash at the enemies to stun them and reveal their weak points. Then, they can stab these weak points. This will destroy them. If a dweller's last weak point is destroyed, they are killed and removed from the battlefield with violence. After they complete a level, the player is given a persona, depending on their playstyle, as well as a recap of the level. From the look of things, it looks like this playstyle was a bit violent. This next level takes place later in the game, and we assume that the player was less violent and more lenient with the dwellers. Let us take a look at how that is possible. Maybe you noticed the bright stripe that appears when the player possesses a dweller. This can be used to link them together, which is the non-violent way of clearing them. You need to string several possessions together to create a chain. Then, to conclude the link, simply possess a dweller again. This will remove them from the level without using violence. As we've seen before, the possession mechanic can still be used to traverse great distances quickly, and the player could use it to perform this platforming sequence faster. However, since the game replayability partly relies on speedruns, we have also included a few skips if you know how to use the character controller just right. Now, let's take a look at how the gameplay mechanics strung together can be used to clear a wave if the player uses them all.
Bon, j'en étais à essayer de prendre ce truc. Donc tu prends les enrouleurs de 50 mètres pour le jardin, là, pour Antonin.
The player has been
Moi,
more
je prends les
lenient with the
enrouleurs de
dweller,
25
and
mètres que
therefore,
tu m'as
the
envoyés.
persona reflects that.
Mais putain, les écrans, il n'y a plus.
So let's talk a bit about how we came to have this character controller. So we first tried to see what our competitors did and copied it. So basically we took inspiration mainly from I Am Your Beast for their grounded movement that matched what we wanted to get as a feel, and Ultra Kill's dashes and jumps that you may have recognized. We wanted to have separate types of challenges for the different playstyles that you may have. If you want to have a violent playstyle killing the enemies, you will need to rely on smart placements and precise attacks to win the game. However, if you favor a more lenient and pacifist playstyle, you will need to have evasion skills as well as use tactics and foresight to make sure that you do not possess an enemy that is in harm's way.
Now talking about level design, our goal with each level and each wave is to put the players through dilemmas that will challenge them according to the arena's theme. That's why every wave objective must be feasible in multiple ways. Obviously, the players have the choice to either link or kill the dwellers, but that's not the only differentiator. For instance, in the second level, players can occupy the room space in a variety of ways. Small hills give you the height advantage, but make you an easy target. Pillars across the stage allow for a mobile but demanding playstyle. And small bottlenecks and barricades can offer a hiding spot for a more stationary approach. Those, just like killing and linking, are also variables that allow the players to express their styles and that we can take into account to give them feedback. Now for the overall structure of the game. Viscera will have 5 different arenas: determination, adaptability, audacity, humility, and sacrifice. Players can clear those arenas in any order they want. The reason for this non-linear progression is that no arena is meant to be strictly harder or easier than another. Instead, each one of them has its own theme as well as its own challenge. The vertical slices arena, for instance, has the theme of determination, and it challenges players' reaction to urgency. Thus, all the waves objectives are under time constraints. We believe this choice to be coherent with our target audience, as we are banking on the player's intrinsic motivation to discover and be tested by each arena, further mastering the controller with each try, instead of relying on periodic rewards of resources or power-ups. As we've said, your actions have consequences. Let's say, for instance, I decide to play the determination arena. The first level starts on a neutral state, but as I play and lean more towards killing or linking, the environment changes to reflect my actions. Once I finish the arena, it takes the aspect of the average of my choices. Here, I completed most levels with a violent playstyle, so the final state of the arena aligns more with the Superbia aesthetic, which is the name of our violent route. We then get assigned a persona based on how we overcame the arena's challenges. How exactly are those personas selected? Throughout the levels, the players respond to objectives to clear each wave. We track different variables, like the amount of dwellers killed or linked, and at the end of an arena, the average of those elements is used to select a persona, describing how the players dealt with the arena's challenges. Our wave objectives are meant to put the players through a variety of situations, focusing on specific sets of variables. Some might be time-based, others focus on survival or damage output, and some can even combine all of those constraints. Once I pick another new arena, I will start that whole process again, back from a neutral state with no influence from my previous actions.
The world of Viscera. The action takes place in Biot's mental space. But who are they? Biot is a sentient being, a legendary weapon, creator of legends, kings, and kingdoms. Always in the shadow of their bearer, they have finally decided to be their own judge. One last trial to judge them all. Biot and this place are one and the same, reflecting their past and their state of mind.
So the game takes place inside of the memory of the sentient and legendary weapon we are wielding. The realm is ethereal, timeless, and surrealist. It was constructed and exists only for the purpose of these trials. Our art direction is centered around three main elements: visceral, in all its bloody and poetic meaning, to embrace our opposed playstyles; surrealist, as we needed an intriguing world that goes beyond reality, which also allows us to play with textures and imagined scale; and last, symbolic, to give the whole package a glance of mystery and subtle narrative elements. We transcribe those elements in our world with islands of basalt rocks linked by blood roots and large sigils living in the skies of these islands. We wanted to make the visuals and the soundscape of the world feel like they are living, breathing, and responding to what goes on inside the world, like it has its own consciousness and molds itself to portray different states. Here's an example.
The inhabitants. Who is a double question. Who the player embodies, but also who populates this universe. Here, the two questions are linked. Our player is like the rest of them, a dweller, Biot's latest victim, trying to free themselves from their old ways.
Since they're the only antagonistic force encountered by the player throughout the game, we needed the dwellers to be capable of different behaviors. This forces the player to adapt their game plan and reflects the humanity of the dwellers. In the vertical slice, they can be aggressive or afraid, changing their movements and the nature of their attacks. Animations, colors, and visual effects make the player understand that they are different. We designed simple behaviors for enemies that are alone and more complex behaviors for when there is a big wave of enemies. For instance, aggressive dwellers will rush you at the beginning of the wave. However, if there are only 3 of them left, they will flee, so that they can protect themselves. And if only 1 of them is left, they will transform into a stronger dweller as a last resort, and be able to use all the attacks of the dwellers. As the player, you are a cipher, a hollow shell into which you can fully project your own identity. This way, the player can be fully immersed in the game. Moreover, the player will change bodies as they progress through the game. This is a way to reflect the journey of self-discovery we want to create throughout our experience.
The Arcades. This universe and these souls are linked and united by the same goal. A final judgment that will put an end to their wanderings.
As we said, in the world of Viscera, the way you play affects the world. Each time you start a new area, you'll find it in the Fadian state. If you lean more on the violent playstyle, you'll see it go through the Superbia state, which is characterized by this red color and its more violent tone. If you lean on the less violent and the non-lethal playstyle, you'll find it going to the Pengra state, characterized by its yellow color and its floral theme. When you finally get a persona for each arenas, the player will have access to the final judgment. It's a new persona, final persona, based on the whole 5 persona you got on the previous arenas. For motivations, we expect the players to set their own goals, as the progression in Viscera is not usual. We think players will go for completion or speedrun, setting their own challenges in order to play for sharing between them.
Now for a few notes on the technical production of this vertical slice. We want our game to be as dynamic as possible, so the different playstyles have their own real-time sonic characteristics. To achieve this, we developed a real-time audio chaos system, which can have a direct effect on all music, ambiances, and core gameplay sound effects by changing assets depending on how many dwellers have been linked and how many dwellers have been killed. Here's a short demo.
For the modelization of the environments, we chose a procedural approach using Houdini, making it scalable for more different arenas and a larger scale.
During the development, we had to design and produce a few tools to realize our vision for the game. The first one, and one of the most important for our design, was the weak point system. So it's able to be used on any rig on Unreal very easily because we are using the socket features. Also, anything can be a weak point as long as it creates collision events, overlap events to be precise. And secondly, the wave system handles pretty much everything inside the level, from the spawning of dwellers, the gating, and also allows for objectives to be completed and tracked. It's also possible to expand on creating new objectives easily.
So wanting to create a challenging and hardcore game experience does not mean that it shouldn't end up not being accessible. So here are the main accessibility features that are currently implemented in the vertical slice. A customizable camera, including sensitivity tweaking, FOV personalization, and the toggle for screen shake effects. A God mode, allowing players to be invincible and never die from enemy attacks. Custom colors for blood-related effects, so that blood-phobic people can still enjoy our game. M-assist with tweakable strength, meaning that players can get rid of it or choose to have the aim extremely facilitated using a slider. A high contrast mode, allowing players with visual impairments to clearly see the gameplay elements. Fully remappable controls for both controller and mouse keyboard setups. And finally, advanced audio settings, giving players control over the volume of different audio buses and the possibility to attenuate painful frequencies with a filter.
So, as we said earlier, we know the audience of the game is kinda niche, but not that much. We aim to be just between Dishonored and Neon White. Our game will engage the player both with its fast-paced gameplay and its ability to give the player impactful decisions. That brings Viscera close to the Dishonored franchise. Sorry. We identified 3 serious competitors that already have proved that the market exists and that players want more of this type of game. So first, Dishonored 1 and 2, because it also makes the player take impactful decisions and also blend the world as they want. Ghost Runner, a game with sword fighting as core gameplay. And Neon White for the progression and objective centered around the player's performances. For the prices, they are all right now about $22 to $23. So do we. We aim 2.5 hours of gameplay to play the game entirely on your first run without taking account the replayability. What differentiates differentiates us from the others is that the player can play the experience as they want, choose their challenges, and replay infinitely to master the game. So that's the way we will show it to the players or the persona. Tryharders and hardcore gamers offer us an opportunity of doing a very, very early access. This will allow us to have early money to develop the entire game and see if players are really interested in Viscera. And also we will have some free playtesters. And they allow us to make a big creation of community. We will talk a lot about that in a minute. But first, production planning. So currently we are 11 full-time members. For the production of the game, since we want to propose an early access and the live development, we will reduce the team and its minimum. Production starts the 1st of May and lasts 2 years. For the distribution, we will release on Steam and PC only. And Viscera will cost $22, 18 for the early access, euros, sorry. For the production costs, so it brings us around 148 man months and 450,000 euros. Sorry, for the total production costs. And we calculated that the sales needed on the early access are around 50,000. For the creation of the community, to attract them, we need to we will need to create a community around the game. We will have to hire a community manager and make a Discord server. We will mainly communicate on the social medias and mainly Discord, and also on our Steam page. So that's the end of this presentation, but we just need to thank the external help we got first, so I'll invite you to come with us for the last slide. So thank you, Jules, Amandine, Hugo, Marie, and Etienne. And this is the rest of the team. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Who wants to start with the questions or remarks? Yes.
Hello. So, great, great development, great advancement since the last meeting, the last presentation. I want to congratulate you. I think many of the jury were a little bit scared of how it would end up connecting the violent versus the non-violent. Yeah, you know that. But I think it was presented like interesting. It at least seems to be interesting. It seems to be a well-connected gameplay. It doesn't seem that be that disconnected as we were thinking it as it sounded. So congratulations on that. I have a quick question. The games you post as a reference, right? The Dishonored and the Neon White, they have a very rich world and they have a very rich narrative. And your game, your world doesn't seem to have a very rich narrative. So you are gonna try to track those players and get them into a game that has similar gameplay but not as much narrative. What's your stance on that?
So for the moment, of course, game isn't really narrative driven, but I think it would be interesting to have a story mode, for example, because Biot, the sentient being, is really interesting. She has a past, and I think we could do something around this, and there would be a target audience for it.
And the references we posed with Dishonored, for instance, was mainly to talk about how your choices impact the game world and the progression, more than really talking about the specific story and narrative that is developed throughout the game.
Thank you.
Some other questions, remarks? Yeah.
Hi, Antoine from Ninja Theory. I mean, yes, this project is coming from like a long way of me being part of like the team of just, what are you trying to do with this? But it's interesting to see like being developed and everything. I still have some like concerns, like some struggles and everything, but it is, some of it is the good kind of mystery where it's just a game that just, okay, I know it needs a community that is very niche, that is very interesting. So congrats on just like going through with this. It's really great. Something you mentioned during the presentation was about difficulty and the level, like the hub layouts and different levels, and saying that levels are kind of all in the same in terms of difficulty. Is that, am I correct? So based on that, how do you like keep the player engagement with this? How do you keep them interested so that, okay, I've learned something, how can I apply that?
So it's not the levels that are the same difficulty, but it's the arenas. So we have those 5 big arenas that are cut into 5 levels each. And the idea is to always present you challenges that are unique enough and different from what you've seen so far, that we are trying to get something a bit different and new out of you, and without starting from scratch, because obviously you've played the game a bunch. We do believe we can find something that's enough distinct each time to give you back some interest for how you're going to solve that arena-specific question.
And just to complete what Vasco was saying, I think there is a big part and a big notion of intentionality in the level design, and combined with the different objectives, it is what define the challenges.
Okay, thank you. Another question, kind of like around this, because I can see that if it is a short game, like 2.5 hours, there's multiple things that's going into my mind. The first thing, and someone made already like a comment of like on Ar Mare about the price, and like 23 euros for 2 hours of gameplay is very, very expensive. So how do you plan to justify that kind of expense?
Okay, so first the 2.5 hours of gameplay are planned to mid-core play, from mid-core to hardcore player to play the 5's arena first once. But we really believe this kind of audience will try again to gain new personas and experiment the levels differently, testing two systems of fighting systems. Sorry, and I'm sorry, the English is really hard at this hour.
And also, I think what overall was trying to say is at the end of the game, we unlock a speedrun mode, and so it's 2 games in one. So I think all the questions about the price, the target audience, is always related to the really niche target audience we have.
Thank you.
A nice reference is like Boomerang X, which is also a 2 to 3 hours game. Costs the same as ours, is a fast-paced first-person arena game. and it really gains a lot of momentum once you finish the game and try to go back onto it.
Hi, Remy from Pancake Dacia. First of all, I believed in you from the first. I just want to say.
Yeah, thanks.
No, you did really great. This is gorgeous, and it seems really fun to play. My main concern is it's not so much the replayability, but more the renewal of the content of the game while you play the first time. I'd like to know what really is the difference between the different levels that you have in mind, the different worlds.
We can say we have a very precise visions for how we'll differentiate them each time. We do have kind of a box of ideas of how we can challenge the players in different ways. So for the vertical slices arena, we focused on time constraints, urgency. We do think we could go look into things around how they move around the world, how they decide exactly how they plan their combat, and not just what they achieve, but really on the micro level, how they sequence their actions. So we would look into that, but for the vertical slice, that's not something we went too deep into yet.
Yeah, I understand, but so what you're talking about seems very circumstantial, and what strikes me, I guess, with the game is that there seems to be only one or maybe two types of enemies, I'm not sure, and I'm just wondering why that's the case, and are you considering having more enemies, especially in other worlds and stuff, because that feels like it would be the natural way to flesh the game out.
So to differentiate each arenas, we first thought about different environments and also in the future to add bonuses, maluses. And for the enemies, the fact that there is only two behaviors for the moment is a time constraint, to be honest. But yes, it will be really interesting for us to have even more behaviors and a range of emotion for the dwellers in particular.
And we probably would stay with only one kind of enemy, the dweller, as we possess them, and having a multiplicity of them would also impact the player controller. But we do want to vary on their behaviors. So we had aggressive and afraid, but we also thought about what could a friendly state look like, and a bunch of others maybe could also be thought about.
Okay, so that's really interesting, but I personally think that you would have to differentiate that visually very strongly because if you don't have actual enemy variety, you would want to have visual variety at the very least to give the illusion of. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
I'm Leili from Arte. Congrats to you as well for the work you have provided. I have just a couple questions about the possession mechanic. Just to make sure I understand it correctly. My first question is, when you possess a dweller, are the other dwellers on standby, or can they attack you when you're within a dweller?
So you're always inside a dweller from start to finish of the game. So yeah, they can attack you. You do have a small frame of invulnerability when you get into the body to not get directly wrecked. But yeah, you're always in a dweller.
Okay. And my second question was, maybe I didn't understand it correctly, is that I thought the possession mechanic and the linking one is the non-violent way of going through the game. But visually, when you possess someone, there's blood around the camera. And so I was wondering if that's temporary, or is it something you have thought about?
Okay, so the blood, he's here to show to you that you only have 1 HP left. That's the solution we found, because when possessing a dweller, you also get their HP. So that's the way you can get back some HP after you've lost some. And one thing that was really irritating is when you possess a dweller that only has 1 HP left and you get 1 hit and you die. So it's here to signify to you at all times that beware, you're low on health and you have to stay alert.
Maybe there could be some reflections on how to convey that differently so that you don't confuse, especially when you insist on creating different ambiances between the violent state and the non-violent state. It could be interesting to kind of think about other ways to convey that. Okay, I understand it better. Thank you.
It was a late addition, so
yeah, of course,
yeah.
no worries. I understand.
Hello, Lucas from Ubisoft Bordeaux. As always, thank you for the presentation. I like the DA and the way you're using the music and stuff. It was really interesting. I have more question about the gameplay and the 3Cs. So you are reaching for challenge player that are looking for challenges, but you give your player a lot of opportunity to dodge and move around, but your AI is quite slow. And also, when you reveal the weak points, they are stunned. I was wondering if you, during the playtest or whatever, you saw that maybe the challenge was a bit too low, or maybe because I didn't saw the way or didn't understood the way you were using the health system. Maybe I didn't saw the damages that was done on the player, but I was just wondering if it's something you foresaw during the production and if you try to find a workaround later on the potential production.
Just for one thing, we do have a God mode in the game that prevents you from taking damage, and for the gameplay session, I believe it was activated to make sure we wouldn't get killed while trying to show off the gameplay. When it comes to difficulty, as our target hinges on experienced and motivated players, obviously, yeah, the challenge is a big challenge for us. And what we saw during the tests wasn't a lack of challenge, more on the contrary. I believe a lot of people were having a hard time. So we probably have quite a bit of fine-tuning to do still, especially on how we handle our waves, the number of enemies, and maybe even their speed. But we don't seem to be that far off from what we've seen yet.
Also, maybe just to add on that, we have many different variables for the enemies that are tweaked this way because we have iterated on them a lot. But we have many different possibilities for the AI behaviors. For instance, you are right, for now the speed is a little bit inferior to the speed of the player, and as the player can dash also. But there is a rush speed for the enemies that can be implemented in some behaviors where they're faster than you, whatever you do. I wanted to say something else, but I forgot, so never mind.
Well, thank you. Happy to test it after the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks. Some more questions? No? Everybody wants to test it then. So let's congratulate once again the team. Everybody was afraid of the devil. And let's welcome the last team of today, Saud. We're going to need some minutes to settle down. We changed the atmosphere.
mais de toute façon, il y a l'autre écran qui va apparaître. Mais attendez qu'on finisse d'installer et puis on... L'autre. Il y a nos notes et notre diapo. Donc il faut qu'il swap d'écran en régie. Ça, c'est pas censé être le PC de là. Il faut que la régie swap de... Ouais, bah ouais. Oui. Il faut que la régie soit oui. Ah. Est-ce qu'on peut avoir les deux PC présentation, s'il te plaît, Eric? Merci.
Et est-ce qu'on peut avoir le troisième micro, s'il vous plaît? On attend le micro. We are waiting for the mic.
Okay, I think that's it. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. We're going to present Saud. Now, the best way to begin, I think, is to show you the trailer. So that's what we're going to do. Hopefully.
So in Saud, you accompany Ernestina in the exploration of her own memory. After living it for more than 5 decades, she now comes back to Pampilal, her childhood village, to fulfill her dream. But she does not have a lot of time. After a few minutes, she is pulled out of her memories. And whenever she comes back, she appears in the middle of the countryside, and all the modifications she brought to the environment remain. Her goal is to explore the region of her childhood during the dictatorship. And to do so, she will receive the help of childhood friends, family members, and other inhabitants of the village. She also has a variety of tools to progress through the Portuguese landscape. Saud is a cozy exploration puzzle narrative solo game that we plan to release on computer, on Switch, and on mobile. We chose to use a 3D isometric view, and we plan for the game to last about 6 hours.
Our main target is cozy ambience gamers. They look for an original gameplay associated with a cozy artistic direction. They like to be part of a community and appreciate indie games. Our secondary target are creative puzzle solvers who love innovation in puzzle design. Last, we aim for optimization-driven players who want to optimize their gameplay as much as possible. They are satisfied when they can reduce the time needed to do a repetitive task. All these people have one thing in common. They want to play at their own pace.
Ecospace is very important in Saud. When Ernestina, our main character, smells, sees, or hears things that remind her of her childhood in Portugal, she is transported to the village where she grew up, that is, into the game. When her memory fades, she is brought back to real life. This takes shape in our game with short-like movie cinematics. Now, please, everyone, let's get cozy and let us dive into the world of Saud.
Okay, so let's play the game now. We are creating a new save. Now I have to choose between different difficulty presets. I will just go with the classical experience, the adventure mode. Okay, here we are, transported into the game. So now I cannot go this way for now. Let's explore this way. And there is an NPC here. Okay, she's telling me to go back to the village. Let's learn more about this NPC.
So at this moment in the game, we wanted Ernestina and the player to share the same feeling of being lost. But we also wanted to give the player a sort of first simple objective. So this is the function of Teresa, the first NPC, and she also gives a few informations about the narration, and we discovered the character of Ernestina and the way that the other people in the village see her like a little child.
So she's telling me to go to the village, so I guess I will try to find it. Oh, and there is a ladder here. Yeah, I can place it. And maybe I could get more of them. Like I could put it here, for example. Yes.
We chose to design a gameplay element that could be used in multiple ways and in multiple places. The goal was to offer agency to players so that they could use it how they want. And to achieve this, we designed a ladder. It can be placed either vertically or horizontally, over void or over water, basically in any places that the player finds useful. This allows players to create their own shortcuts and progress further in the levels where they want. Due to the freedom we give players and the limited number of ladders in the game, it comes with the challenge of resource management and exploration. Players need to find the ladders and use them with parsimony.
Okay, so let's use them with parsimony then. So I have one up here and another here. I could use this one. Grab the other one, yes. Okay, I can get two of them at the same time. There is a candy here, but I don't know how to get there. Quite mysterious. Okay, I can just go here, take this one. Wow. Such a beautiful view. Oh, there is a cow here. Let's say hi to the cow. She's moving. Okay, she's trying to eat some grass, but if I just walk on the grass, she has to move and free the way behind her.
At this moment, we wanted to implement a sort of a coherent and fresh system of the classic locked door. So we made the cow, of course. And the dialogue with it also adds a few narrative details about the life of the villages. And it also is a moment of casualness where we discover how Ernestina interacts with the other people of the village. People, let's say the cow.
Okay, now I can just go this way. And this is where I was before. Oh, and there is a candy here, but I don't have time. But now I know where this is. I could just go back. Oh, yes. Let's talk about sound design first.
Yeah, we always forget about sound design. Anyways, so that is the name of a very deep emotion in Portuguese. It's a mix of like nostalgia and longing. And we try to reflect it through the sound of the game. In Saud, all sounds are warm and soft, like a blanket, and we have long sounds with long tails and soft attacks and enveloping frequencies. We also wanted to reveal the sweet and sour emotions of Saud through silence and music with complex chords that bring a tingling to the heart. Also, in Saud, there are no alarms, no surprises. The sounds of Saud won't hurt your ears or surprise you in any way. The sharpest sounds are kept to the UI, which the players expect to hear when they interact.
So now I can just go back where I was. I can use my ladder just here. And now that the cow has moved, I can just take this path. But first, let's take the candy here. Oh, they give me more time.
We wanted useful collectibles to reward the exploration in Saud, so we designed collectibles helping the player's progression, linked to our time loop. We chose to make candies. When players get them, they upgrade the timer permanently, and with this bonus time, players can explore longer and reach further areas. Their design is inspired by Dr. Bayard candies from Portugal.
So getting back here was useful. We can talk about that.
In Saud, the world is an onion. For the level design, we decided to use layers, with the center being the respawn, and players can build shortcuts to get to the outer layers.
So it is divided between early, mid, and late game. We wanted this to synergize with the progression system, because the more players get ladders and candies, the further they can go and access to the more later end game of the content.
So now I can just keep going on the path I was. Like here maybe? Oh, I think there is a village. Yes, this is the village of the game. This is a nice place. Let's learn more about the village.
So at this moment, we wanted to create a sort of narrative hub. So we made the village with a lot of details about the life of the villagers and about a few things about the reality of what it was to live under the dictatorship of Salazar in the 1960s in Portugal. We also wanted to create a sort of unique ambiance and to create a space to take a break after, now that we discovered the main features of the gameplay.
Our first pillar for the art direction is the countryside. We wanted to create a natural environment that have comfy aspect to it and wrap around the players. We found inspiration in the laguna of Óbidos, fauna and flora. It allowed us to create variety of vegetation. For example, we selected 3 trees that have very distinct shapes and silhouette: pine, cypress and olive trees. Also, we wanted to represent the lavenders because of its symbolic and its cultural importance in Portugal. To create a world more alive, we chose to build a village that is inspired by the typical structure they could find at the time.
Our second visual pillar is appeasing and welcoming atmosphere. We wanted to give our game a soothing and gentle atmosphere typical of cozy game. To achieve this, we tried, for example, to create various little cocoons in our level arts, some little place to rest and contemplate. We also wanted to create a warm mood. We worked with warm color and late afternoon lighting, but also with a lot of micro-animation to bring the game to life.
So, the last aspect is obviously nostalgia. To achieve this feeling, we drew inspiration from real life and graphic elements from the past and from childhood. For example, we were inspired for the interface by certain graphic elements found on all Portuguese sardine tins.
Now that we are here, let's talk to someone. Like this person, for example. My boat thing? There is a cabin on the beach in the opposite direction. Okay, this is the craft boat for myself. So I need to go to this cabin.
And now that the player has found the village, which was the first objective, we wanted to give him a second objective, which is the main objective of the chapter. So this is the main function of this NPC, and she also gives, once again, a few infos about the life of the villagers, but also we discover her relationship with Ernestina and their complicity with the way that she calls her with a small surname. So this is the main function of this character.
Now what could I do? Oh, there is a candy on the top right. Maybe I can go there. Oh yes, a nice secret passage here.
So, as you've seen, in Saud the camera is isometric, but not exactly. There's also a slight perspective effect. We wanted the camera to be the game to be accessible to casual gamers, so there are no cam management in Saud. And the slight perspective effects gives us parallax, which is very important for visual effects and to have a more lively environment. The isometric camera is also a way to create hidden passages and secret areas like the one you just saw with the candy.
Okay, let's explore a little bit more the village. Maybe take this ladder. Oh, there is another one here. Let's say hi to the cows. And another ladder here. And I think I've seen everything, so I can just reset manually. Now there is still areas where I didn't go yet. So let's try here. Okay, I'm walking in the water. I'm a little bit slow, but there's someone here. Okay, he's looking for a beaver for some reason. He wants to impress a beaver. Oh, okay, he needs friends. So he told me to let him know if I found beaver traces.
The main function of the Beaver Kid is to create an element that encourages exploration in the whole chapter. So the kid wants us to find traces of a beaver. Well, he's not aware of the fact that there are no beavers in Portugal, but anyway. So he also gives us a few gossips about the life of the villagers, and once again, through those dialogues, a few heavy themes about the life under the dictatorship of Salazar are developed, and we understand a few behaviors of the people and the reality of their common life. And finally, the heavy themes are still in a sort of casual mode to show how he, as a child, sees those things.
Okay, I think now is a good time to open my notebook.
So here you can see the notebook and the quest page. It helps the players to keep a good track on their quest. It's like they don't play for a certain amount of time. There is another page for the bird puzzles, because in each chapter Ernestina can find a bird through a puzzle and draw it in the notebook. So for example, this bird puzzle is connected to the side quest of the Beaver Kid. And finally, we have a map that updates whenever we discover a new area or a new passage, and it helps to find our way in this environment.
Okay, this is convenient to have a map, but I see there is also some path. Maybe they're here to guide me. I will follow one of them, like here. I'll just go straight forward to check out this place. There is also signs, Singing Meadows. I haven't seen this place yet. Okay, maybe... Oh, here, there is a ladder. And I would need 2 other ladders to go up here. Oh, they magically appeared. Nice. Really convenient game.
Thanks to the sound designer.
This is also a place where I've never been before. Okay. Okay, this is the ocean. I cannot go there. But I can wait. Oh yeah, the tide is getting lower.
We wanted to reinforce the impact of the loop and the candies on the game. So we decided to make a tide system that helps blocking areas according to the time available to the player. Basically, when the loop starts, the water is high and it will go down through time. This way we create late game zones around the levels, and which is player curiosity, also making backtracking useful.
So if I wait just a little bit more... Okay, now I can go. And there is a key. Let's get it. Nice. I don't want to just travel back, so I'll just reset here. Okay, there's another way I didn't explore. It's a path on my left, and from what Teresa told me, if the boat cabin is at the opposite of the village, it should be this way. Yeah, okay, I haven't seen that before. Can't go here, I don't have ladders. Oh, one here, perfect. Oh, and 2 ladders here. Excellent. And a candy. I want to get all the candies. Let's keep going. Oh, this is a broken bridge, but I can just cross it with the ladder. Let's go up first. Okay, this is the island I was before, where I had the key. There is a ladder here. And oh. This sound brings me some nostalgia. Okay, this is a fishing area. Maybe I can find the boat cabin near here. Okay, I think this is it. I can just open it with the key. Yeah, perfect.
Thanks to Ferreira's tip, we found a boathouse. The boat pieces are the goal for Ernestina in each chapter. Collecting the boat piece unlocks a memory which is tied to the gameplay elements, the boat pieces, and it helps to keep the players engaged and encourage them to discover more of the story and more of the game. So getting the boat piece will trigger a small cutscene.
So now I can just grab the piece of the boat I need. Let's do that.
Of course, we can't show you everything Saud has to offer right now, but we invite you to come and test the game later. We have so much more things to show you. Now, let's go back to the real world and let's talk about playtests and production. Whoa! You haven't seen anything. So for Saud, we will both make 2 sessions of playtests, one in the playtest room in our school and another one during the Comics Festival in Angoulême. We had a total of 34 players, and the goal was to first observe the time loop and the ladder's mechanics and comprehension, and also to recruit multiple player profiles to go a bit closer to our target audience. During these tests, we gave to our players the objective to go to the village. We watched them play and we had observables to observe what they were doing, and we asked them to fill a survey about the game's usability and comprehension. We did that to know if they agree or not with these statements we gave to them, and then to see the conflict points it could have in our game. During the 2 sessions, people understood our main gameplay mechanics, and they had fun, and they understood the time loop and the ladder, but some amelioration points about the ladder can be made. So now that we did those tests, we applied what we observed. We added first sound feedbacks for the ladder max capacity, and also we added the ladder's max capacity in our onboarding. And for the future of our production, we'll polish on our boarding, especially with the ladder use and all the things and the tips we can give to the player. And we'll also highlight UI elements.
How will we produce the game? So we plan to launch our game in 1 year and a half on October 26. The production will start in September after our internships. The whole development will cost around 525,000 euros, with the biggest part allocated to internal expenses.
One of our goals with production was to make our team members as independent as possible. So to achieve this goal, we use several tools. For example, on the bottom right, you can see a short demo of the level design tool we created specifically for this project. Another tool we use is Yarn Spinner for the dialogue system, and also custom events to interact with the quest system. And it also helps us with the localization of the game. But of course, tools that no one knows how to use is useless, so we make documentation to go with it.
So in Saud, the player can adapt their experience to their needs. For the sound, slider will allow the player to adapt the volume of different elements. They will also be able to choose between stereo and mono. Finally, frequency attenuator filters will be available. It will also be possible to adapt the time loop, the duration of it, but also how much time a candy can give. The game is entirely remappable for both keyboard and controller, and window mode and screen resolution customization are also available. We did not have the time to implement all the things we wanted in terms of accessibility, but we thought about it. In the entire game, players will be able to adapt the UI to their needs. Also, the hints mount will be fully functional, and we are currently thinking about a more easy mode where the character will automatically have the right tools in their inventory. To finish with the accessibility, I will present to you the 3 settings you may have seen at the beginning of the demo. As we said before, we designed the game to be played at the player's own pace. As we know that it is easy to get lost in the settings, we wanted to offer 3 presets when launching the game. The adventure mode is the regular preset, meaning we design the game like this. In this preset, the time runs only when the character is walking. Then there is the story mode. So the story mode is designed for players that wants to mainly enjoy the story and take the time to finish a chapter. In this preset, there is no time constraints, and the only way to start again a loop is to do it manually. And finally, there is the challenge mode. The challenge mode that you can see at the right was especially thought for players looking for a challenge. In this preset, the time runs all the time, even if the character is not walking.
With Saud, we want to offer an exploration and puzzle game, but with a cozy atmosphere and a cozy art direction. In terms of game length, pricing, marketing strategy and target audience, we position ourselves between games like Terrascape, Tunic or A Short Hike. If we take a look at these competitors, we can see, here in orange, that their playing times range is from 1.5 hours to 12.5 hours. In blue, we also identified that their price vary games between 7 and 30 euros. About the number of copies sold, our competitors' sales vary widely, from 22,000 copies for Dordogne to 540,000 for Desdor. But they all have one thing in common. They are all premium, aka one-time purchase. For Saud, we're positioning ourselves along our competitors with a selling price of 17 euros and a playtime of 6 hours. We are also opting for a premium model. To break even, we need to sell 30,000 copies. That would put us between the 2 games with the lowest sales, which seems quite achievable with a good marketing. We plan to finance a part of the development with public funding and smaller income sources from contests such as the Game Cup. For the other part, we are looking for a publisher. We have identified several publishers that we will be interested in working with. They match what we want to do, and vice versa, we match their editorial line. We are thinking of Dear Villagers, Strawphone Publishing, Finji, and Arte. Now, we're starting to build our community. We have launched our Steam page, and we are preparing our communication plan. We can't wait to show you the full game. For now, we invite you to come on the Plateau project to play to the vertical slice, or to test the demo, which will be available on Steam in the coming weeks. Before we finish, a big thank you to our external. Please come. They made the game possible. This is Margot, Clélia, and Amandine.
And there is Amandine.
Here is the team. Thank you for listening, and don't hesitate to ask questions.
Thank you. So, who wants to start with the questions, remarks? Yes. You thought you were appealed.
Hi, so I'm Leili from Arte. Good thinking on our editorial line. First of all, I want again to congratulate the team. Also, my first thought was that I was kind of worried, as many of us were, about the time loop mechanic, and seeing it in game reassured me a lot, and it looks really nice. So I can see the work you've put in. So congrats on that. I have maybe 2 questions remark. Maybe I missed it, or maybe it was because you mixed the presentation within the gameplay, which is really nice. I was wondering how you introduced the time loop mechanic, because I understood how you introduced the candies mechanic to gain more time, but I was wondering how the player understands that there's a time loop that they have to go through.
So we thought about it for the onboarding, and you may have not seen it. Maybe you will see it more on the demo. But there are a bit of dialogues, like Ernestina thinking, "Oh, I'm back there. Okay, maybe I can go further if I'm making short ways and stuff." So, but in the old game, we will polish more the onboarding, for it will be clearer for the player. But that's what we have right now.
Okay. And the other question I had was about the ladder. Also good thinking with the playtests for to improve that. I was wondering maybe you've shown it again, is it possible to reuse the ladder once you've put it down? And if so, what's the point to have other ladders after that?
Yes, you can reuse ladder and replace them when you want. When you place a ladder horizontally, you can just take it back as you pass through the void, but the element that will use the ladder and that will made you not reuse it is verticality. When you just go up, you cannot get back a ladder when you're from the top of it.
Okay, that's really interesting. I was wondering if you thought about, does carrying the ladder prevent you from getting other items? I know this is not a challenging game and it's not meant to be, but did you think about how to create a little bit more challenge through here and there?
We have tools. We didn't have time to present them, but we have tools which we can use even if we have a ladder in our hands. And for the full game, we have other ideas, like, for example, carrying a torch that is light on, but with time could get off, for example.
That's really promising. Thank you so much.
Hi, hello, Isabel from Ubisoft Paris. Really like the game. I can see how it evolved from last time you guys showed us. Funny story, I was actually in Abidos last week. Yeah, I was there. There's not much to do other than drink cherry liquor and walk around for 10 minutes. I can see it. The little blue houses, it looks very similar. I think the only thing that you guys are kind of missing is the cobblestone pavement. The whole city is stone. And Portugal is also very famous for its Portuguese pavements everywhere. It's something that definitely defines Portugal. So I think I missed that visually a little bit. Yes, but it doesn't look like Portuguese pavement. It looks like little squares. It's not quite. But other than that, I think the ladders getting positioned in front of you all the time bugged me a little bit. Me as a player, I know I would love to hide it and just put it down when it's there, or to snap it on only usable places. And just one last funny fact, beaver kid unlocked a memory in me. So beavers have been extinct in Portugal since the 15th century. 1.5 years ago, they were spotted on the border, like 150 meters from there. So maybe beaver kids will see beavers in Portugal. I don't know. So
we wanted to make sure that at the beginning of the quest, Ernestina just thinks, okay, this kid is not aware that there are no beavers in Portugal. And when we progress in the quest, she just realizes that maybe she was the fool of the story and that he was right.
he just saw the future. That's it.
Thank you, Mishka.
Congratulations. I was thinking the same thing about the time loop. I remember that everybody was like, I don't know how it will work and all that, but it seems to be fine. It's great. Congratulations on that. Congratulations on the full thing, right? On the full thing. So I have one remark and one question. The first remark is, you have very soft music, very candid colors, and you're talking about time that's a dictatorship, which is not very cozy for a lot of people. And there's a lot of countries where this is like a big disengagement thing. So I don't know if you have taken that into account, if you're working that into the story in some way or doing something, but be careful with that. And then you have the tides thing, so you have to wait, but also you have a button that resets the loop. Did you try to make the button accelerate time so you could, instead of waiting, just
about the first thing you said about the dictatorship. Of course, it was one of our main concerns about treating this part of history. We did not want to, of course, diminish the sufferances of the people that lived during this time, but also did not want to represent it stereotypically and just use our own ideas of what a dictatorship was. So we made a few researches. First of all, we decided to represent a small story into the big one. We did not have the, I would say, audacity to make a full documentary of how it was, and wanted to rely on testimonies to build around an idea of what it was to live in the countryside at the time. And about what you said about the colors and distance between the themes and the way we represented it, our objective was to show the memory of a child. And we did not want to fall into the stereotype of it was of how we would, as adults, perceive it, but how sometimes a child can have a certain distance with events, and did not want to, let's say that if you lived in those circumstances, you can't be nostalgic, because it's at the end of the day, it's part of your childhood and part of your life. And about the tide system, we thought about it, but okay.
Yes, to answer your second question about the tide, we didn't want to put many buttons for the game to make it more accessible as possible, and also we find it funny to have to turn around to make time passes, and it's just on really narrow. It's not on a lot of places you have to do that, so you don't have to do it often.
Thanks, yes. I need some ladder to add some shortcuts.
Hi, Remy from Pancake Dacia. Great job, very well done. Congratulations to you all. Really nice game about ladders. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing around again. I do feel like you're centering your presentation and the way you show the game maybe a little bit too much on the ladders when it seems like there's a lot going on in your game. Like there's the memories, there's the bird spotting, which I would really have loved to see more of personally. And I know you are also wanting to have more puzzle elements as well, which is also very interesting. I do like my only problem with the ladders, especially with the fact that they can do different things, is that you're kind of moving into the realm of minimalist puzzle games where you have elements that can do a lot of different things and you just have to use them right, which is like a very different market in my humble opinion. Anyway, I don't actually have a question about that, so sorry. I do have a question about something, but it's really just me being curious. A lot of the characters, well, all the characters that are not the main characters are shown as shadows, which is kind of spooky. And that makes sense because we're in like memories and it's scary to lose your memories. But I was just wondering if it's something that you thought about and if it was something that you worried about the game seeming spooky when you're trying to make something cozy.
For the NPCs, so if we don't want it to make NPC entirely dressed and with we wanted to keep this memory thing where you don't really remember the person of your childhood. But to be honest, we don't spend so much time on the design on the NPCs. We know we wanted to do something really simple and where we can understand this is an NPC, this is a shape of the personage, and I think in the next week, sorry, I think in the next week we're gonna think about how improve this part and how improve the NPCs, because I agree they can be a little bit scary.
Well, that's not really what I meant. Like, I'm not saying that they need to be improved. I think they look fine as it is. I actually think they integrate quite well into the world, which is great. Yeah, no, it wasn't a criticism. I was really just like, is this something you're having trouble with or not really?
To add to that Gabit said, it's a way to show that Ernestina remember more some people than others, and the Beaver Kid is here really well remembered because of his friendship that she got with him.
That makes a lot of sense.
And the cow is very well remembered as well. I wanted to add on the ladder thing. So what we showcased is the very beginning of the game, and it's also our onboarding, and it's also the place where you learn how to use ladders. So this is why it's very ladder heavy.
Hi, so Cécile from Focus. So like everyone else, I think the project is really charming. Blah, 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 we love it. Just a question, because I think we as listeners of your presentation did get to enjoy something that maybe the players are not going to enjoy. That is, at some times you did some poses and you had a little explanation, and on these little panels you had like a wonderful 2D art, like the little characters, and I suppose some of them are going to be in the diary thing, but like they are so lovely. You need to. I would love for you to find ways to integrate this wonderful 2D art somewhere, and that's why I'm asking the question, because I think Remy also had something with these shadows. I mean, they are not as cute as a 2D art. End of rambling. Thank you.
So to answer, we wanted to put the most important NPC on the map where you found them, and to have to remember some information, but we did not have time to do it, but it will maybe come.
Okay, thank you.
And we also use these assets for our marketing, which is definitely a part of game development. So yeah, these are very pretty and will not be unused, don't worry.
Thank you. Last questions or remarks? Yeah, maybe not last.
Sorry, I have another question because I was just scrolling through Steam to get your Steam page. I saw that there was another game named Saud, and I was thinking, what alternatives have you thought about? Because marketing-wise, it can be difficult to have two games named the same, especially that they look kind of different. So I was thinking if you have noticed it as well, and what are you thinking? I know it's early on, but just to see your thoughts.
Yes, of course, we're aware of it. So if we didn't change it, it's because we started with our first presentation for the jury with Saud, and it was easier to show you the same title. But we thought about add some words at the end of our title, and also we check on the ENPI if the trademark is deposed, and it is not for the video games. So
smart.
Yeah, comment about the name. I have never heard of this other game. I just Googled it. But when I saw your guys' game, to me, it should be Saudade with an S. Saudades, because she's remembering many memories. So that's a point. To me, grammatically, that sounded better.
Yeah, actually the game that you can see on Steam that is not us was released like just after the pitching. So yeah, kind of by timing, but yeah. So yeah, we're thinking like maybe an S or O instead of a U, like the song by Cesaria Evora, maybe.
Probably having this song in head would be a good way to finish this presentation, except if you want to say something.
Yeah, I would just like to thank my grandfather, because this game was hugely inspired by him. He's Portuguese, he was born there, came to France at 17, and yeah, coucou papi.
And he happens to be there. Yeah, he happens to be in the room. So let's congratulate the team. So please, a round of applause. And I will call all the students from today to come down this room. And in the same time, I would like to invite you to thank all the teams that work. So we had the team and we will congratulate them all together. But in the meantime, let's congratulate and thank the technical team, Eric and Javier, who were there and made this happen. Let's thank the pedagogical team who also accompany the students to develop all these games. Thanks to the administrative team as well, who make it the logistical aspect of it. Thank you, the jury, also to be there. Thanks for the rich exchange we had today. So thank you for following the way they develop their games. So thanks to you. Maybe we can thank the jury.
Just before the photo, Catherine. Yes. Here. From all the P20 promotion, we wanted to say thank you to accompany us for all our projects, and it was really a wonderful time at the Enjmin with you.
Thank you. I was supposed to say a few words before, so I will try to do that. No, I didn't. I didn't know, but it's harder to say words after that. That's what I wanted to say. It's not the right shit. Whoop. So just a few words. It's nothing. It's just dear P20 cohort. Once again, quite a ride today. You managed to guide us through a great diversity of words and experiences, either with sparkling and magical powers or with a rope and a particular sense of sound. You taught us how to survive through our journey and find our place in these worlds. You also challenged our skills and our capacity to make hopefully wise and non-violent choices in order to survive or not, mimic inhabited neighborhood or haunted lighthouses. Finally, you showed us how to revive warm memories and some nostalgia, private joke nostalgia. What a nice takeaway for this very rich day. So it was a pleasure to accompany you. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best to keep your creativity, your hard work in the coming path and the journey in industry for you. So thank you too. And to finish that, I will give the mic to the godmother, so Sandrine.
Well, what can I say after that? This wonderful pitch and all this emotion. Thank you, like everybody said. Thank you for having me. Thank you for choosing me as a member of the team, the school. I really enjoy, even if I didn't manage to take that much time to be with you each time I came. It's really motivating. Like you still have, like we talked to the other teacher, like this flame in you that we kind of lost what we get into so much here into the industry. So it's so reviving, and I really loved talking to all the one I've been talking to. And your game are fantastic. Your presentation are astonishingly good and professional. I'm always amazed by what I see here. And I hope that you keep this flame as long as you can, and that you really believe that you have a special job and a special role in our society, because you are shaping the culture, and you are shaping how people see the world with what you create. So really keep that in mind and continue what you have just started, because it's starting really well.
So thank you all. Big thanks to everybody, and thank you for following us all this long day. But I think it was a rich day. So let's celebrate, and congrats again.
Just before leaving, thank you to the Regie also, Javier and Eric. Thank you for making also this possible. And so just before leaving, we will go at the Nil, which is the bar in front of the Enjmin. After you went to the Plateau project, if you want to join us, you are welcomed.
Yes. There's still time to play. There's still time to play those. Don't hesitate to go on the Plateau project to test the games. Bye-bye, everyone.